Excuse me. That's my husband's grave you're touching. Who are you and why are you crying over him?
I didn't mean to trespass.
My name is Marcus, and I'm here because I think your husband saved my life. Saved your life?
Daniel never mentioned you. Not once. Why would he help a stranger?
I just knew he was the only person who told a 17-year-old kid from the block, "You are not your mistakes. You are your choices."
You're a nurse, you have a daughter. Why come here today? What changed?
I didn't come to take anything. I came to say thank you, with proof.
You walk into a quiet cemetery to visit your loved one, and a stranger is already there, on his knees, sobbing over the grave. Now imagine that grave belongs to your husband. That's exactly what happened to Victor Hayes. The sky was heavy and gray as Victor stepped out of his black car, expensive shoes crunching on wet gravel. He held a bouquet of white lilies, Daniel's favorite. This visit was part of his routine. Every Sunday, no matter how many business meetings or charity events were on his calendar, Victor came here to talk to the man he'd loved and lost. But today, something was wrong. From a distance, Victor saw a figure kneeling in front of Daniel's polished black headstone. Rain soaked the man's faded work uniform. His broad shoulders shook with deep, desperate sobs. Beside him stood a little girl, tiny, curly-haired, clutching a stuffed rabbit, looking terrified and confused. Victor's heart slammed against his ribs. Who was this man? Why was he touching Daniel's grave? As he got closer, the carved words became clear. In loving memory, Daniel Scott Hayes. Beloved husband, quiet hero. The stranger's hands were pressed flat against the stone, his forehead resting on the name as if trying to draw strength from it. The little girl tugged at his sleeve. "Daddy, please don't cry," she whispered. Victor froze. Daddy? Anger and fear mixed in his chest. Had Daniel hidden a whole second life from him? A secret family? He cleared his throat, and his voice came out sharper than he intended. "Excuse me," Victor said. "That's my husband's grave. Who are you?" The man jerked around so fast the little girl nearly fell. His eyes were red and swollen, his cheeks streaked with mud and tears. He grabbed his daughter's hand protectively, as if expecting trouble. I'm sorry," he stammered. "I didn't mean, we'll leave." Victor stepped closer, umbrella shielding all three of them now. "You're not answering my question," he said. "Why are you crying over my husband's grave?" The stranger swallowed hard, chest still heaving. When he finally spoke, his voice was low, raw, and stunned. "My name is Marcus," he whispered. "I'm a single dad, and I think your husband saved my life." Those words cracked through Victor's suspicion like lightning, but years of being rich and targeted had made him cautious. Victor Hayes wasn't just any grieving widower. He was the CEO of a massive tech company. The man magazines called the widowed billionaire, and reporters stalked for emotional interviews he never gave. Ever since Daniel died, strangers had tried to sell stories, forge papers, and remember connections that never existed. He narrowed his eyes at Marcus. "Saved your life," Victor repeated. "Daniel never mentioned you. Not once." Marcus flinched slightly at the sharp tone. Rain dripped from his eyelashes as he straightened his back, still holding his daughter's small hand. "I understand why you don't trust me," Marcus said quietly. "If I were you, I wouldn't trust me either. But I'm not here to take anything. I didn't even know he was famous. I only knew the name on the letter, Daniel Hayes." "Letter?" Victor asked. Marcus nodded. His hands trembled as he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a worn envelope, edges soft from being opened 1,000 times. He held it out toward Victor like it was something holy. Victor hesitated, then took it. Inside were several carefully folded pages and a certificate. The ink was faded, but the words were still clear. Hayes Foundation, full educational scholarship, awarded to Marcus Williams. At the bottom, in a familiar looping script, was Daniel's handwriting. Victor's breath caught. He unfolded the attached letter, and the world around him blurred for a moment. There it was, Daniel's style, his phrases, his gentle humor. Words like, asterisk, "You are not your neighborhood, not your mistakes, not other people's expectations. You are your choices, Marcus. Choose well. Asterisk." Victor felt as if Daniel were suddenly standing beside him again, whispering in his ear. "How did you get this?" Victor asked roughly. "The scholarship came when I was 17, Marcus replied. "I never met him in person. I just knew someone out there believed I was more than a lost kid from a rough block." He shifted, embarrassed. "I'm sorry. I really didn't mean to trespass on your grief. I just wanted my daughter to meet the man who changed our lives, even if it's only through a stone with his name on it." Marcus turned to his daughter. "Come on, Zoe. We're going." He started to walk away, shoulders slumped, but Victor's mind was racing faster than his doubt. "Wait," Victor said suddenly. Marcus stopped. "You're not leaving," Victor continued. "Not until you tell me exactly how my husband saved you." They moved to a stone bench beneath a large maple tree. Leaves dripped with rain, forming a curtain between them and the rest of the world. Marcus sat with Zoe curled into his side, thumb in her mouth, clutching the stuffed rabbit even tighter. Victor studied the man more carefully now. Marcus's work shirt carried the logo of a local urgent care clinic. His hands were strong and calloused, the hands of someone who worked long, physical hours. Exhaustion sat under his eyes, but so did determination. Start from the beginning, Victor said. Marcus sighed, looking at the grave as if asking permission. I grew up over there, he began, nodding toward the line of old apartment buildings visible beyond the cemetery wall. We called it the block. If something bad happened in this city, chances were it happened on that street. Police sirens were like lullabies. I knew more kids with court dates than birthdays. He paused, then forced himself to continue. My mom did the best she could. She cleaned offices at night and fell asleep in her uniform on the couch most mornings. There was no dad, no safety net, just bills and fear. By 16, I was angry at everything. Being tough felt like the only way to survive. He described nights hanging with older boys who flirted with gangs and easy money. The first time he held a stolen phone. The first time he saw someone he knew taken away in handcuffs. He was walking a thin line, and he knew it. One day, Marcus said, I got into a fight at school. Stupid, reckless. I almost got expelled. My guidance counselor, Miss Ramirez, pulled me into her office. She slammed a stack of papers on the desk and said, Marcus, you get one more lifeline. One. I'm giving it to you. Don't throw it away. It was the Hayes Foundation scholarship form. He had almost tossed it in the trash. Why would some rich stranger care about a kid like him? But something about the phrase on the brochure, asterisk, second chances for those who still dare to dream, asterisk, hooked him. I wrote the essay that night, he said. No fancy words. I just told the truth. I said I was scared of myself. Scared I'd end up in prison or worse. I said I wanted to be the kind of person who runs toward people when they're hurt, not away from them. A month later, the letter arrived. Full scholarship for nursing school, plus a personal note from Daniel. Marcus smiled sadly. I carried that letter in my backpack for years. Every time I wanted to quit, I read it again. It was like having a quiet voice saying, you're worth the effort. He went to nursing school. His mom cried the day he got his uniform. He met his wife, Jasmine, in the hospital cafeteria. She was studying to be a physical therapist. They built a life around long shifts, cheap dinners, and big dreams. Then, 3 years after Zoe was born, Jasmine got sick. Fast. Unstoppable. Marcus's voice cracked. The night she died, he whispered, I thought I was going to break. But I had this little human depending on me. And I kept thinking, asterisk, somebody already invested in you, Marcus. You don't quit now. Asterisk, that somebody was your husband. Victor sat very still. In all their years together, Daniel had never bragged about a single scholarship, a single kid. He'd just come home tired, sometimes quiet, and when Victor asked about his day, he would say, asterisk, saw something today that reminded me hope still works. Asterisk. Now Victor finally saw what that meant. The rain slowed to a soft drizzle, leaving the cemetery wrapped in a gray, almost sacred silence. Victor looked from the grave to Marcus and back again, feeling the distance between their lives and the invisible bridge Daniel had built without ever telling him. What do you do now? Victor asked. I'm a nurse at the urgent care, Marcus replied. Mostly night shifts. People come in scared, in pain, sometimes angry. I know what that feels like. I try to be the calm in the chaos. He laughed bitterly. Problem is, when I leave there, I go straight into my own chaos. He explained how he juggled 2 jobs when Zoe was younger, nursing during the day, stocking shelves at night, until his body gave out. How his neighbor Mrs. Green, a retired teacher, watched Zoe for cheap so he could keep working. How his car broke down every other month, and how one unexpected bill could wipe out his tiny savings. What about family? Victor asked. Mom passed away 2 years ago, Marcus said. She was so proud I'd made it out, as she called it. The rest of the family is scattered, doing their own struggling. So it's just me and Zoe now. The little girl glanced up. And Mommy in heaven, she added quietly. Marcus kissed the top of her head. And Mommy in heaven, he agreed. Victor felt a stabbing echo of his own loss. Daniel had died suddenly of a heart attack during a charity run. 1 minute they'd been laughing over breakfast, and the next, Victor was at the hospital staring at a doctor's lips move without hearing anything. For months after, Victor had thrown himself into work, building higher walls around his heart. He'd funded the Hayes Foundation generously, but always at a distance. He couldn't bear to dig into Daniel's projects. It hurt too much. Now, sitting across from the living proof of Daniel's secret mission, he realized his grief had kept him from seeing the full power of the man he'd loved. So why today? Victor asked. Why did you come to the grave now, after all these years? Marcus took a deep breath. I finally tracked down the foundation's main office, he said. I went there to ask if it was possible to send a thank you email to Daniel. That's how I found out he'd passed. The woman at the desk showed me his photo and said, he believed in you, Marcus. He really did. He swallowed hard. I walked outside and just stood there, in the parking lot, shaking. I realized I'd spent my whole life being grateful to a man I'd never even met, and now I never could. So I promised myself, I'll find his grave. I'll bring my daughter. I'll say thank you out loud. Zoe squeezed his arm. We made a card, she said shyly. It's in Daddy's bag. Marcus nodded. We were just about to leave it when you arrived. Victor's chest tightened. He looked at the grave, then at this man and child who had come only to give thanks. No cameras, no reporters, no demands. This can't end here, Victor thought. Aloud he said, Marcus, can you meet me tomorrow? At my office. Marcus blinked, startled. Your office? What? Because, Victor said slowly, a new resolve building in his voice. I think Daniel was trying to tell me something, and I'm finally ready to listen. The next day, Marcus stood in the lobby of a gleaming glass tower downtown, feeling wildly out of place in his neat but inexpensive shirt and scuffed shoes. Zoe clung to his hand, staring wide-eyed at the marble floors and enormous screens showing Victor's company logo. A receptionist escorted them to the top floor. When the elevator doors opened, Marcus saw Victor waiting in a spacious office lined with city views. On one wall hung a large framed photo of Daniel, laughing, wind in his hair, arms crossed like a man ready to run into the future. Come in, Victor said warmly. His tone was different now, less guarded, more human. They sat around a low table. Zoe wandered to a corner where a basket of brand-new toys had mysteriously appeared. I did some reading last night, Victor began. For the first time, I really opened the Hayes Foundation files. My husband, he didn't just give out a few scholarships. He built entire futures. There are teachers, engineers, social workers, dozens of people like you whose lives changed because he believed in them. Marcus listened quietly, unsure where this was going. I realized something, Victor continued. Daniel never wanted his generosity to stop with him. He always said, impact should outlive income. I've been writing checks, but I haven't been truly involved. That ends now. He slid a folder across the table. Marcus opened it and froze. Inside were documents for a brand new initiative, the Daniel Hayes Legacy Fund for Single Parents. The pages detailed full tuition coverage for advanced training, professional mentorship, and guaranteed flexible jobs within Victor's companies for selected participants. I want you to be the first, Victor said simply. A full scholarship for your advanced nursing degree. Reliable childcare for Zoe. A part-time role here as our health and wellness coordinator, with hours built around your classes and her schedule. Marcus's mouth fell open. This is too much, he stammered. You don't even know me. I know enough, Victor replied. I know my husband saw something in you when you were just a kid on the edge. I've seen what you did with one chance. I want to see what you'll do with another. Tears spilled down Marcus's cheeks. He tried to speak, but couldn't. Zoe toddled over and climbed into his lap. Daddy, are we in trouble? She whispered. He laughed through his tears. No, baby. For once, we're not in trouble at all. Over the next months, everything began to change. Marcus enrolled in advanced nursing courses. He cut back his exhausting night shifts. Zoe went to a safe, loving daycare the fund paid for. On weekends, they sometimes visited Victor's home, where Zoe turned the echoing halls into an adventure playground and slowly filled the quiet house with laughter again. Victor, meanwhile, sat with the foundation team, reading story after story of people like Marcus. The more he learned, the more he saw Daniel not just as the man he'd loved, but as a visionary he was now honored to follow. Every few weeks, the three of them met at Daniel's grave. They brought fresh flowers, Zoe's drawings, and updates. Marcus would say, I passed another exam, Mr. Hayes. Victor would smile up at the sky and add, he's going to be one of the best nurse practitioners in this city, you know. One brisk autumn afternoon, Victor placed his hand on the headstone and whispered, you were right, Danny. Kindness really does outlive us. And I promise you, this is only the beginning. In that quiet moment, 3 lives, 1 gone, 2 still healing, were woven together by a love that refused to end at the grave. If this story moved you, don't let it stop with you. Hit like right now, so this video reaches more people who need a reminder that one act of kindness can echo for generations. Share it with a friend or family member who might be fighting silently, just like Marcus once did. And if you want more emotional, life-changing stories that restore your faith in people, smash that subscribe button and turn on all notifications, because the next story might be the one that changes your life. Have you ever had someone believe in you when you didn't believe in yourself, like Daniel did for Marcus? Tell your story down below. I'm watching the comments and I'd love to read what happened to you.